And we are back with Nicole Patino from the law offices of Nicole Patino, as well as Gabe Snyder from Ward Black Law. And they're answering questions that you have regarding employment and law, work issues, and workman's comp. All right, Gabe, this one's for you. It says a friend was diagnosed with COVID and was in intensive care for an extended period of time. She works in cleaning services and was responsible for cleaning areas where others had contracted COVID. She has been discouraged from applying for workman's comp. Any advice?
Goodness. Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for your friend. I hope she's feeling better now. So it goes back to that analysis. Well, first and foremost, your employer can't discourage you from applying for workers' comp. I think Nicole's going to talk a little bit more about that. But the bigger thing is analyzing it the way that I said earlier, which is, what is it about your profession that makes you more likely to get COVID than the general public? And so in this case, if your friend was doing cleaning services for where COVID is located, in hotbeds of COVID, we'll say that people are regularly coming in with COVID and they're having to clean that up, I would say that there's potentially a claim there. I would definitely report it to workers' comp. I would at least try to get them to pay the medical expenses and any lost wages. And if they don't, it might be a good time to hire and talk to an attorney.
And I'll just add to that, in North Carolina, there's a statute called the North Carolina Retaliatory Employment Discrimination Act. You have a statutory right to file a workers' comp claim, and if your employer discourages you or retaliates against you for filing a workers' comp claim, you can contact the Department of Labor and file a complaint for free. They'll investigate, or you can contact an attorney who can help you complete that form, and you may be entitled to some monetary compensation just based on that.
Okay. All right, this person is asking, the employer is releasing me from my position. Is this a situation where I can get out of my non-compete?
Absolutely. So that's something that you'll have to work with the employer. You may want to discuss that with an attorney. One of the things that we can do is negotiate with your employer and try to get a release of claims, and also to help you get out of that non-compete and see if there are any other obligations that may impact you moving on to your next position.
Okay. And this question is about the COVID vaccine. If I have an adverse reaction to the COVID vaccine, does that also go for workers' comp?
That's a great question. And I actually represent people who have adverse reactions to flu vaccines. And so the requirement is you have to have the employer require that vaccination. So that's how you get in the course and scope. That's why it's considered part of employment, because how else would you be able to get workers' comp for just getting a vaccine? Well, if the employer requires it, we consider that part of work. And so many times a reaction can happen as a CERBA injury, where the injection happens up here and it can cause the shoulder freezing and different issues like that, which could definitely put you out of work and definitely cause you medical expenses. So if you have an adverse reaction, your employer required it, report that right away to your employer and file a workers' comp claim.
All right, Nicole, let's talk about this. We've heard people say that, my employer is requiring the vaccine. Do I have to have it? Now there's something where people are now applying for jobs where the application says you have to have a vaccine to work here. Is that legal?
Well, there has to be the opportunity for you to engage in the interactive process with the employer and say, I can't have the vaccine for a disability related reason or a sincerely held religious belief. But if they give you that opportunity and they don't just reject the application flat out, yes, they can ask that, and they can actually withdraw a conditional application of employment if you are exhibiting COVID symptoms and can't come into the workplace because of that.
Okay. Gabe, this is about workers' comp. If your job is sending you to go get lunch for everyone or something like that, and you get hurt, is that part of workers' comp since you're not actually in the building?
Yeah, actually, there's nothing in workers' comp requiring you to be in a specific location or on the employer's premises. So that's like an agency principle. So you can think like the example that I had in law school was, grandma sends son to go get groceries. Well, if he is acting as an agent on behalf of his grandma, and so if he's acting, that would be for you, the employee, you're acting on behalf of your employer, and you get injured, you can definitely receive workers' compensation. That arises out of the course and scope of employment, and you're also doing something that furtherance of your employer. So yes, definitely file a claim in that case.
Okay, and Nicole, very quickly, someone just asked, what is a non-compete?
A non-compete is a restrictive covenant that prevents you from engaging in competitive activity, working in the same position essentially for a competitor of your employer.
Right, a competitor of your employer. Okay, thank you both for taking questions today. We so appreciate that. If you have any questions, I'm guessing you're going to find a lot of the information that you have questions about in our web story. So take a look at it. It's in the Who Wants to Know section.